So one of the issues that Ole Miss had this weekend, if you watched or you listened throughout the course of the weekend, was they couldn't come up with the shutdown inning. Right, so Alabama would take a lead, and then you would look up, and Ole Miss might answer, and then Alabama would immediately answer. That was especially the case over the last couple of days, Saturday and Sunday. There were a couple of things that stood out, I thought, about Friday night's game. First, Garrett McMillan, the starting pitcher for Alabama, who was named co-SEC Pitcher of the Week. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. I mean, that's not a spectacular line. It's a good line for your Friday night pitcher. Here's the problem. He threw 40 pitches in the first inning and threw 112 for the game. After that first inning, when it looked like Ole Miss had a chance to have kind of a big inning and only got 2 runs out of it off of a Tim Elko base hit that scored a couple of runs? They didn't do anything else the whole game until Ole Miss got a run, 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning. 2-run home run from Kevin Graham. So you got a 2-run single from Tim Elko in the first and a 2-run homer from Kevin Graham in the 9th, and that was it offensively. And in between that, Alabama, who had scored a run in the first, they got 2 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, built themselves up some cushion, and then they just kind of cruised, and Ole Miss didn't put any pressure on Alabama with at bats.
All weekend. It wasn't just Friday. That's been the issue. Lately, anyway. They've got a lot of issues, but at the plate, that's the one. It's almost like they're trying to hit a 6-run home run every time they're up to bat. The approach, and we said the stats earlier, bears repeating, possible, people just got in their car or whatever. Almost scored 17 runs this weekend. And they had 9 home runs. That's a lot. That's a good number. 9 home runs in a weekend is a lot. 6 on one day. That's a lot. 17 runs.
Jacob Gonzalez hit 3 himself and accounted for 6 runs batted in on Saturday.
And lost.
In a loss.
But that underscores the point. 9 home runs, and they scored 17 runs. They are not getting on base. They're not moving the ball around the park. They are not stressing pitchers. They're not prolonging at bats. They're not prolonging innings. If the ball doesn't go over the fence, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's really...
But that was not the case on Saturday, right? I mean, Saturday, it was a pitching issue.
Well,
so on
with
Saturday,
3 home
Ole
runs.
Miss has 10 runs on 15 hits. Hit 6 home runs in the game, led it 2-1, led it 7-3, and then Alabama started chipping away. It was 7-6 going into the 7th inning. And then Alabama hits a grand slam, but then Ole Miss answers. So they're down 10-7, and they get 2 runs in the 8th inning. And they get a run in the 9th inning, and it looks like Ole Miss wins in the 9th inning, right? When the right fielder, I guess it was Pinckney again, made an unbelievable catch at the wall. And instead of walking it off in the bottom of the 9th inning, the game goes to the 10th. Alabama hits a 2-run home run, and they win it 12-10. And really no threat from Ole Miss in the bottom of the 10th. And then kind of the same thing yesterday. I don't know that Alabama ever actually surrendered the lead yesterday. I'd have to see here. They led 1-0, and then they were ahead 3-0, and then Ole Miss made it a 1-run game. It was 3-2 in the 6th. And so they got themselves in a spot where, okay, you got a chance. So what happens? Alabama hits a solo home run in the 7th. Ole Miss answers with a solo home run in the bottom of the 7th. Still a 1-run game. Then Alabama gets a solo home run in the 8th. And then Alabama hits a 2-run home run in the 9th. And they win it. And Ole Miss doesn't really put any pressure on in the 9th, down 4 runs. They don't have anybody that they can run out there to slow down an opponent right now.
Let's be honest. They're kind of bad at all facets of the game. In Sunday's game, 5 of the 9 innings, Ole Miss went 3 up, 3 down. 5 of the 9 innings, they went 3 up, 3 down. And then there was another
hitters went over.
Yeah, and there was another inning where they went 2 up, 2 down, base hit, and then end of inning. So 4 guys got at bat in 1 inning, 3 in 5 others. So they're not competing at the plate right now. Not productive, not consistent. They've abandoned the concept of starting pitcher, and that hasn't worked. And in fairness, it wasn't working before. Nothing was working in terms of starting pitching and rotation. None of it was. And they still are pretty poor defensively. Right now, they're kind of bad at everything. That's how you get swept in 2 home series. That's how you go 0-6. And the stuff they are kind of good at, it's not consistent enough to carry them. You're not going to home run your way into wins in this conference. You have to do other things, but at least they do that well. Otherwise, it's really bad.
So let's ask the question then. We'll go ahead and get a little preview. Who wins next weekend between these 2 teams that are struggling so bad?
Whoever goes to watch Jackson Dart versus Luke Altmaier?
I heard Dart struggled.
There's a better show there.
You may be right at the end of this, Borky. But that said, who wins? State Ole Miss? Who? If I said pick today? Good luck. I mean, it's a coin flip at best, right?
I have no idea. I mean, you probably would point to recent success for Mississippi State, and by recent, I mean like 4 or 5 years worth.
But that's meaningless when it
is. You're right. Jake Mango's not playing, and so that changes things.
That's something for fans. That's not anything realistic.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I don't know the answer to that. Here's what I do know: that the next 2 weekends either give these 2 fan bases a little bit of hope,
or they just crush it out of them,
or they provide the opportunity to make plans for the first week of June, which has not been doable for either of these fan bases for a long time.
That is crazy to think about.
Seriously, I had somebody ask me this morning, and I couldn't give a great answer. How close are we to having the conversations of on the bubble? Which is not a phrase we use when talking about this tournament.
Mississippi State is already there, and Ole Miss is precariously close.
If you said, Brian, put money on it, I would say State doesn't make the tournament.
Like if the season ended today, they would not. Their RPI is 90.
Their RPI is 90. Their RPI is 90, and they're on pace to lose well over 20 games. No, they're not. They're not going to get in unless things change.
Borky, you and I were talking about it earlier today. There's no conversation about hosting right now.
None.
Never mind. I mean,
no.
We've played that even up to last week. Well, if Mississippi State does this, to legitimately be in the hosting conversation, you got to be 16-14 in the SEC. For Ole Miss and Mississippi State to get to 16-14 in the SEC, because they're both sitting there at 4-8 right now, they have to, on average, win every single series for the rest of the year. On average.
Yeah.
I mean, you can win 3 here, lose 3 here, and win all your other series. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But to get to 12-6 in the final 6 series, that means you have to average winning 2 out of 3 for the next 6 weeks.
I don't know the Ole Miss schedule, but for State, that's Auburn, Ole Miss, Missouri, Texas A&M, Florida, and Tennessee. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, Ole Miss has to go to Fayetteville and Baton Rouge still.
Oh, yeah.
For Ole Miss, that is South Carolina on the road, who has been Jekyll and Hyde, if anything.
What did they do this weekend? I have no idea. They played Georgia?
I think they lost 2 out of 3.
Okay.
South Carolina did lose a series to Georgia last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
After losing a series to Missouri.
And remember, Georgia, at least for the time being, without Jonathan Cannon.
Yeah.
For Ole Miss, it's at South Carolina, home for Mississippi State, at Arkansas, home for Missouri, at LSU, home for Texas A&M.
There's contention already, understandably so. This team has vastly underperformed expectations. You lose another series to Mississippi State.
That's going to be difficult to overcome.
Not that that's the end-all, be-all. It's postseason success is the end-all, be-all, but you want to increase the contention, that'll increase the contention.
Because it becomes, you couldn't beat this state team?
See, I don't even think it's about that anymore. Like, and I'm not belittling the rivalry at all. Yeah. I don't think that's the story at this point. Yeah. I don't think it matters if it's Mississippi State or Missouri or Arkansas or Tennessee.